My bosses know we'll work. We gotta hit 24 hours, I'll hit 24 hours. It's like a baseball player. Those dudes get paid to swing a bat. We get paid to catch these bad guys.
Hello?
For DEA, seeing bad guys underway is rare. But back at their Dominican Republic command post, they can listen to them.
Aparentemente hay un tipo que mandó una compra para arriba.
O sea, no es que sino que se devolvieron. ¿Cómo lo hacemos?
This place is manned around the clock by DEA personnel and trusted members of the Dominican National Police Sensitive Investigation Unit. The primary tool here is the wiretap. Of all the day's intercepts, one link to the incoming Go Fast has gotten their undivided attention.
So basically, you got this guy in Holland that he needs to buy 2 engines. And he's contacting the guy here in the DR so he can facilitate.
2 engines for a boat.
For a boat, for a Go Fast that will depart Cartagena. It should be a couple of days. They're only waiting for the engines. That's it. Once they buy that, it's gonna be good to go.
Basically, I gotta now wait for the dopers. Just gotta wait for the dopers to make a phone call. And dopers usually don't get up till midday, 1 o'clock, so, because they're up all night, especially on a Friday night, so they were probably hanging out, hitting it hard yesterday. So we'll wait and see what happens, and hopefully we'll tack up once we get a good call.
In the Dominican Republic, DEA agents Tony and Kojak are waiting on an incoming Go Fast boat packed with as much as a ton of cocaine. The Go Fast don't just carry drugs. Trafficking is a cash business. And those who make successful runs north often return with mountains of greenbacks. That's why drug cash is also a primary DEA target here.
Y aquí yo no te voy a hacer, te voy a mandar, mira, yo había de hecho del Banco República, yo te voy a mandar la información que nosotros enviamos a través del Banco República que llegó sin problema.
Back in the wiretap room, an intercept is alerting them to a cartel laundering operation happening nearby. If the information is accurate, the business might be moving as much as $5 million in coke money every month. DEA Special Agent Matt heads out into the streets of Santo Domingo to lay eyes on the suspect location.
We've identified 2 businesses here that they're receiving bulk currency at and then subsequently laundering that money. It's the same company, they just have 2 locations here in the city.
From the outside, the 2 branches look like regular clothing stores.
The woman we're investigating, she owns several clothing distributor businesses here in the Dominican Republic. She's the boss of this money laundering organization. We see people come in and out of the business with boxes. And you hear them discuss money amounts. You never know what you're going to encounter when you go in these businesses.
Traffickers never let money sit for long. They've got to strike before the launderers move their cash off the property. Within an hour, Matt has his tactical unit ready to go. With 2 targets to bust, he's asked Tony to lead the other team.
I've worked with Half a lot in the past. We work very well together. I think we complement each other in the way we work.
DEA's muscle on this raid are the elite cops of the intelligence, so neither store can tip off the other that they're coming.
We know that she's not going to hold on to the money for a long time, so a lot of it's timing when we hit the business. But we'd like to get several $100,000 or more if we time it right. Briefing the guys up, split the teams up, and we're going to depart here very shortly to execute the search warrants.
Let's get rock and rolling. Let's go. might kill you, don't worry. The location is right. You see where the guy with the green shirt is? On the second level.
We're gonna set up a block or so away. And again, we're gonna wait for the second team to get to the other business and get set up.
All right, we're gonna execute the search warrant right now. Talk to you later. All right, we're going in now.
As Tony's team enters the flagship location, Matt's team discovers an entire clothing mill hidden behind the factory's storefront.
This is like a sweatshop back here. They're making clothes.
The sheer size of the place makes Matt's job of turning up dirty money all the more difficult.
We got a large warehouse here. I mean, there's a ton of boxes here, so we haven't even started ripping them all open.
What are you thinking?
We're probably gonna need a few more people over here.
First, they lock down the shop and seize every cell phone, so workers can't send out warning to the traffickers likely laundering money here.
Right now, we're just gonna collect all the cell phones of all the people working here, and we'll slowly start a search. If we don't find any evidence here, this will basically be the end of the case. These people all change their phone numbers. They'll quit using this business to launder the money through, to locate to a different location.
Minutes later, they find a suitcase similar to the ones they've seen coming in and out of the store.
That one suitcase was empty, and I'm figuring probably there was a lot of money in that was already distributed. People came and picked it up.
16 kilometers away, Tony's team is moving through the flagship store and also coming up empty.
I had those butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, man, I don't want to be disappointed. I'm praying there was going to be something in there.
Whether it's in hundreds or 50s, even $1 million can fit into a relatively small shopping bag. If it is here, finding drug money in this clutter will not be easy. So far, their search suggests the traffickers already moved it to another location.
Sometimes you eat the dog, or sometimes the dog eats you. I just hope the dog didn't eat us this time around.
Minutes later, back at the factory store, Matt's team uncovers their first solid piece of evidence.
This looks like stacks of bills. This is money that's sliced up. Looks like it's probably packaged and taped up in packages and bundles, and they're just getting so careless. They're cutting it with a razor, get the money out of the tape, and they're slicing some of the bills up. It's not normal for the coolidge shop that has kind of cash, especially the way it's being handled.
Then, over at Tony's location, they find what they've been looking for.
Holy shit. We just hit for some money here, little buddy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The suitcase is not full, but it definitely looks like it's in bundles of thousands.
How much?
$33,000. 33. It looks like it's 33,000.
33,000? Okay.
That's a good hit.
Looks like the owner of the business that we've been intercepting just arrived. She had been down the street to the store. We're talking to her now, asking about if she has any money.
¿Hay algún otro dinero más, aparte de ese?
No, mi amor, que yo sepa, recuerden, no, no hay más.
Seguro.
Exacto, porque vamos...
Seguro, no más.
Podemos revisar.
No, vamos a hacerlo, pero
Ok.
yo quiero que usted, así como lo estás haciendo, continúe.
No, mi amor, ¿por qué no?
Que lo que tenga, usted me lo busque donde sea que esté, porque de lo contrario...
She was being a little deceptive, initially saying that was all she had. Then she said, oh, I remember some more. And then she pulls some stacks of bills
La persona que
out
andaba
of the
con
different
el bloque
drawers.
de la
They're kind of hidden in the different
No,
drawers.
¿qué más? Voy a guardar aquí, ¿qué más? ¿Tiene alma de-
I'm thinking there's more money because she's nervous and not being completely straightforward. She's really adamant that she wants to call her boss in Venezuela, but we're not allowing her to use the phone right now.
So far, Matt's team has yet to find the big money they expected. But over at the flagship store, Tony and company make another big hit.
So we just found another box with more currency. So usted ve como que la están mandando en caja de allá. Holy shit. Then they found another box, and we found it was like 40-something bundles. There's more than $100,000 here. More than $100,000 there. This is definitely a good hit. You can't see a business like this producing over $100,000 like that. This is definitely money laundering. You can see where the money was packed and it was shipped.
Got another box?
Yeah, dude, it looks like 2, 3, 4, yeah. Like another 40,000 in another box.
3 boxes. 40,000 in another box, maybe 100,000 in another.
Yeah, let's say over $100,000. Equivalent, like I said, it looks like it's $40,000 in pesos.
Okay. We've only been in her office and found the one money box. She had money hidden in some of the drawers and stacks. I'm thinking it's about 40,000 maybe.
The 41-year-old owner and mother of 2 is taken into custody.
The woman in charge of the store is being arrested. She's processed, photographed, fingerprinted, and she'll go before a judge in the next 48 hours to face some money laundering charges. I don't feel remorse or sad for them. They know they're laundering money. They know it's drug proceeds. That's the direct result of the drugs going into the U.S.
If convicted, she'll face up to 10 years in a Dominican prison for her crime.
We're just finishing up here. It shouldn't be too much longer.
The bust has been a success, but the drug money seized is just part of the equation. The shop also provides a treasure trove of intelligence for the DEA.
Collecting a lot of financial documents here. We're gonna have to go through that on a large box full. So we're gonna go through that. We've got some telephones to download, look at those numbers. We're loading the evidence up now, and the prisoner, we're gonna head back to DNCD, process some of the evidence, get a final count of the money, and process the prisoner for the night. I feel pretty good. I'll feel better once we get the final count and see exactly how much money we got. I'd say it was successful, yes.
Hitting the bad guys, it's like a little rush that you get inside. It actually feels inside, you feel like a kid.
Tigran. That's how much we got.
More than $500,000. Baby. That's how we do. Over $500,000, which is a home run. I didn't think it was gonna be that good of a hit. That was a real good hit.
It's just after midnight, and we just finished up. We got $527,000. One arrest, a couple cars they seized. It was a long day, but it was pretty successful.
I think we kind of dismantled this organization there, right? Because that was a very, very big hit.
Taking down the cash laundering operation is a big win, but Matt, Tony, and Kojak are even more eager to bust the coke traffickers who sent this money in the first place.
She's receiving money, she's the launderer, but somebody's bringing that money to her. It's these individuals that are calling her. We gotta target these guys now because these guys are bringing it in.
And with a go fast on the horizon, that chance might just be days away. In the Dominican Republic, DEA agents Kojak and Tony are about to set out in a seized cocaine speedboat. Their goal? To scout the remote beaches the go fast they're now tracking might use when it arrives here in the coming week.
We're gonna check a spot that we've heard is being used for bringing go fast boats with drugs and offloaded them in that particular area.
So you and I are gonna go check the possible location where these guys possibly might be.
Yeah.
I never learned how to swim. My daughter was trying to teach me how to swim this weekend in the kiddie pool. No, I'm not getting in this water.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Oh my God. Oh Lord Jesus.
Come on, dog.
I think we might find something in my pants. dopers will get on these go fasts from South America, do what? 25 hours on a go fast. You gotta be desperate to do something like this. I couldn't do it. How we do.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do.
And we make it explode too. In slow motion, we make it explode. See how I do it? That's how we make it happen.
I have 2 to 3 guys, dope filled to capacity.
They like to use that kind of long stretched boat and just good strong engines to make them fly basically down the water, make them fast.
Well, here,
See, he broke my boat.
I broke it. I broke your boat.
We'll work on that later.
And they also have a tarp. So like that, if there's a flyby, they'll pull the tarp over. And in the daylight, out in the ocean, in the sea, you can't tell the difference.
In the water, they're running. I mean, how do you stop them? Unless you literally break their boat.
It's a cat and mouse game. It's just a cat and mouse game. It's difficult. So if we go out east, like maybe another 10 miles, right? For another 10 miles out that direction, that's where a lot of these dopers will bring in their go fast. Can you imagine coming in? Look how rough the waters are for us right now. When these guys are bringing in that dope at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Suicide.
It is, exactly, it's suicide. That's exactly what it is.
Tony might not be comfortable on the water here, but his connection to the island runs deep. His mom and dad immigrated from the Dominican Republic to the U.S. to give their kids a better life. But the crime-torn streets of the Bronx made America anything but the paradise they expected.
When I was a kid, I remember there was a lot of drugs in my neighborhood. I have a lot of guys that I went to high school with that were either shot and killed, locked up, doing 20 years for murder.
He knew early on that his place would be with the good guys.
I remember the DEA doing a raid on my block, and everybody was just scared of these guys. Everybody was like, yo, the feds. I'm like, DEA, I was like, that's what I need to do.
After a decade on NYPD, he moved to his dream job and made his father proud.
It's something that they worked for. Both my parents worked for it and made sure that I went the right path.
By twilight, they're exploring a potential go-fast landing beach.
This would be a common area for them to come and drop dope off, and later on, somebody would usually be waiting.
They'll have a crew there, right?
A crew waiting for the dope to come in.
If the go-fast they're now tracking lands here, it'll mark the halfway point in a supply chain that began in South America. Here, a Customs Border Protection plane films an essential stage of distribution. First, a small Colombian plane with tons of cocaine lands on a remote seaside airstrip. Immediately, porters and trucks offload the cargo and move it to a fleet of waiting go-fasts. Within minutes, the go-fasts are loaded with 1 to 2 tons of product and glide down an estuary into the open sea. From there, they fan out across the Caribbean to destinations like the Dominican Republic for transshipment to consumers all over the world. A typical crew will run 2 or 3 days straight, being stalked by law enforcement all along the way.
This is a serious risk. In this thing, you have blood or money, right? You can go, but you don't know if you will return.
This man we'll call Jose. He's a cocaine trafficker and go-fast captain who survived numerous trips north.
My role is like to guard the drugs, you know?
Jose says that the biggest threat isn't necessarily DEA. It's the other members of his crew. Because on any trip, every man on board has 300 million reasons to fear his shipmates.
On the sea, you cannot trust anyone, you know? They will kill you there.
One thing the bad guys don't have that we do have is that we can trust our partners. They can't trust each other, they don't trust each other. They're always turning on each other, they're always betraying each other all the time.
You have to be very swift, you know? If you don't be swift, you can just get there or something else worse, dead or something.
But the Caribbean is over 1.5 million square kilometers. And despite the danger, at least 8 out of 10 go-fast will make it.
It's so hard to be able to catch these people in action. We'd have to have assets in the water, in the air, on land. That's why it's so difficult for us.
The only chance DEA has of catching go-fast is knowing when and where they'll land. Thanks to recent phone intercepts, in their case, Tony and Kojak might now have that information in hand.
Just give it time.
Eventually,
Sit tight and wait for us. We're coming to get you.
we're coming to get you. It's inevitable.
The next day, DEA special agents Tony and Kojak are on standby at the Dominican Republic command post. Their incoming cocaine speedboat is back on the wire and heading this way.
All right, ready to roll? Who's going? Anybody going with me or what?
The Go-Fast captain is planning to make landfall and deliver his cocaine within the hour.
We've already identified the actual locations where these guys intend to bring the drugs in. We got people already in the area. We're all gonna go meet them now and get ready for the shipment of drugs.
This is it. Final confirmation. The team heads out to a remote landing beach where they'll hook up with a Dominican strike team from the Sensitive Investigation Unit. The Go-Fast crew plans to dump the coke on a remote beach, where accomplices will load the drugs in awaiting SUVs.
We know for a fact they have weapons. We know for a fact there's at least 18 or 20 members at the site. So yeah, there's a high risk.
Guys, you need to move fast, all right? Move fast.
It's definitely a needle in the haystack.
And in the dark.
Yeah, especially in the dark. Yeah. That site was very, very remote and dark, and it's perfect. I mean, and they know this. I mean, that's why they pick these locations, because they know they're perfect for them. All right, this is the staging location. Darker than I thought. We know they're communicating because of the wiretap intercept we have. We're waiting for the phone calls telling us that the drug operation is underway.
Intercepts reveal that the Go-Fast is floating just off the beach, waiting for their accomplices on land to show up.
They're still in the water coming into shore, so we're just waiting.
I'm antsy right now. Where are those phone calls? Where are those phone calls?
The cops want to roll up the Go-Fast crew and the buyers coming to pick up the coke. With millions of dollars and their freedom at stake, the bad guys may well fight to keep their stash. DEA wouldn't stand a chance without the men of the Dominican Sensitive Investigation Unit backing them up. For added firepower, 4 soldiers from a nearby military post join in.
Entrada. Pasa que lo vamos a hacer por la 2. Primera entrada. Ustedes se ponen en posición de ataque de una vez.
Si nos ganan y salen afuera, ahí sí que nos come un caballo. ¿Qué vamos a hacer entonces para llegarle a esa gente?
Si tú ves que viene un vehículo saliendo, automáticamente nos tira y uno de nosotros de una vez te va a dar apoyo. ¿Tú oyes?
These drug smugglers, when they bring their loads in, they actually have that tendency to open fire on the police, on law enforcement when they show up upon arrival. So they've been notorious for that.
Tony's concern right now is being shot by his own side.
I was like, yo, make sure you tell these guys you need to check their crossfire. Everybody knows Speed Up is the one with the New York Yankees jersey. Like, real bright. That's why I won't get shot.
Suddenly, an intercept comes in, and it's not the news they expected.
We intercepted a phone call. A bad guys warning the other bad guys there was some law enforcement presence nearby and not to drive the vehicles right to the beach.
The buyers have been tipped off and won't be coming. Their only chance now is to get to the boat and crew before they reload the coke and head back out to sea.
So that's why we're reacting right away. We gotta go.
Let's go, let's go.
When the jungle opens up, they get the first glimpse of their prey. The Go Fast is still there, sitting just 18 meters off the beach. When a police chopper swoops in, the Go Fast crew is spooked into a desperate move.
Jumping in the water. They ran and jumped in the water. Yeah. Okay.
Viene.
They got the drugs in the water too.
A mad search for the bad guys ensues.
When we rolled up to the beach, our adrenaline was pumping, and the guys are yelling, they're in the water. So we run over to the water, and we're like, but we don't see anything in the water, and we all are just standing there.
There's no telling whether the Go Fast crew swam out to sea or are trying to sneak onto the beach.
See? I heard something too. No, it's not cricket. It's not a cricket, dude.
It's clear the Go Fast crew is now hiding in the brush.
I heard something, man.
Almost certainly armed and dangerous.
Como si hubiese estornudado o algo. Dude, we have any canine units in here?
Well, he was the first one to see him, and he's like, I think they're over there.
After a tense 10-minute search, the boat crew are finally taken into custody, with no shots fired. They're Venezuelan, tired, thirsty, and unarmed. The men tried to flee barefoot over coral, and their feet were ripped to shreds. The problem now is that the Go Fast is empty, and there's no coke to be found.
We start saying, we're like, dude, where's the dope? And next thing you know, one of the guys says, what is that over there?
What?
Good job, guys. That was right under your nose.
Get your ass over here!
That was a good one, bro.
Get your ass over here!
Yo, check, chill. Clear the area.
Holy shit.
Clear the area. Look at all this shit right here, bro.
Holy shit!
Yo, come over here. Clear this. Okay? There's bales out the ass here, bro. Yo, we got bales here, okay?
These are all the bales that they just dropped and they left.
I think this is a good excuse to go drinking.
But look at the size of this freaking thing. Look at this. Getting a good seizure. That's like better than finding gold. It's like a little boy or girl finding their most precious Christmas present under the Christmas tree.
For each bale, it's 30 kilos.
30 per bag times 48. Do the math because I suck at math.
From the looks of it, they've seized over a ton of Colombian cocaine.
There's over 1,000 kilos here. There's a ton.
Yeah, it is.
We definitely got a ton of coke here. Who smelled the dope? Who found the dope?
That guy right there.
Who found the dope?
That guy right there.
Good for something.
Dope radar right there. Look at that.
Dope radar.
He's ready for that, you see that?
Look at that cut. He's gonna knock me out. He's gonna knock me out where he is.
Their elation soon gives way to shock. New intel has just come in. They're being watched.
We just got a telephone intercept in which one subject relayed to the main bad guy that he was present, he was watching as we were there.
Somewhere nearby, a bad guy, possibly armed, is still at large and relaying information to drug bosses listening in.
Somebody's watching us right now.
Well, yeah.
Set it on the phone.
Okay. They're looking at us pulling this stuff out. Current air helicopter, as the current will go up in the helicopter again, it'll light this up, and we can go do a whole search. This is a remote location, extremely dark, so it's very easy for anybody to hide. It's a disadvantage for us because we have somebody who knows where we are, who we are, and we don't know who they are and where they are. So this person was definitely there watching as we were there, and we couldn't locate him. We tried and we haven't been able to locate him. So this is dangerous.
Then their shock turns to despair.
He said, he's gotta be the boss. Tell me if it's the guy described like exactly that one. He said he was asking me 1,000 questions.
The person relaying information by cell phone is likely one of the local soldiers who joined them before the bust.
One of the law enforcement officers involved was sent by the head of the bad guys to inquire of the status of what was going on here with the drugs and stuff. The main guy instructed this military subject to inquire as to what we had, what we knew, what we were doing, what was next, etc.
The team forces them to hand over their cell phones.
And everybody line and empty your pockets. Bam. You know what I'm saying? Our guys are trying to identify exactly who was the person, and that's what they're doing right now, basically by elimination. Start ruling people out, and that's what they're doing right now.
Wow, like that? Very depressing.
Even after seizing the cell phones, the DEA team still has no idea who the traitor is.
It's like pouring water in a broken cup. I mean, so that's kind of how it feels when you get a drug investigation affected by corruption.
19. If you got a crate of apples, there's always going to be one rotten apple. But that doesn't spoil it for the rest.
The night ends with the mystery unresolved.
This is the boat they used to bring the kilos in the air from Colombia.
If they would have tried to leave, we would have never called them.
No, it has 3 engines,
Yeah, that's what you're
250
saying.
horsepower each.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
DEA did a lot right in taking down this go-fast, but they also got lucky. It's now clear why the bad guys didn't just turn around and head back out to sea after the cops showed up.
They're running out of gas. So right now, what they have is limited gas. That's why they were waiting, and they decided to wait until somebody came back with some more gas for them to. Well, we beat them to it, so we beat them to that.
That was a good hit, bro.
In the end, the Go Fast bust is the biggest in Dominican Republic history.
It's one for the U.S., you know what I mean? One for the DEA.
This morning, they deserve to celebrate their victory. But tomorrow, the war goes on.
We can seize all the drugs in the world, we can take all their money. They're always going to go right back to business.